My emotions and thoughts are mostly occupied with worry and guilt about my daughter's marriage and children. I feel the need to often tell her and her husband how to do things better and bring up their kids better. It feels that this destroys my life. I mentioned that kind of thing briefly in A New Earth, I believe, that to be a parent is a function, an important function. For many people, it's not only a function, they identify with the function of being a parent, then it becomes a role that you grow into, that it gets hold of you. And then you remain a parent because that's become part of your ego function. It becomes a role that you cannot get out of. And even when your children are already adults, might be 30 years old, you still are forced to act out the role of parent. And that usually does not have a good effect on the relationship. And it is quite possible that you know better. Or it is possible that you just think that you know better. But in either case, perhaps yes, you have more life experience, you've seen more things, so why aren't they listening to you? Because they want to be free. So to let children go, to let go of your identity of parent after you have fulfilled the function of parent, and you have to start doing that as when your children reach adolescence. Gradually, you have to let go, you have to allow them to make mistakes. Advice, yes. Up to a certain age, you still can impose your will, but not for too long. But then they reach 16, 17, 18. If you're still trying to impose your will when they're 18, 19, things get problematic. So you can still guide diplomatically, gently, but then realize they will go their own way and they will and must make mistakes. So that can be a significant letting go, which requires a certain amount of consciousness. If you have been identified with the role of being a parent, because that's become part of the ego identity has a certain inertia to it. It does not want to let go of whatever its identity is. Every psychotherapist knows that patients come to him, or clients, whatever they're called, and there's always a point is reached when, in many cases, the patient or client sees the possibility of going beyond certain types of dysfunctional behavior or misery, but they are attached to their unhappiness because it's become part of their sense of self. And that is often a critical point in therapy. And often clients or patients disappear. Well, just as they reach the point that there's a possibility of transcending these limitations, because the ego feels, I'm going to lose myself. So what you need here is presence, and especially self-observation, rather than focusing all your attention on what your children are doing with their children and so on, and what they can do better. Put at least as much or more attention into the workings of your mind and see how it is associated with not being able to let go of the role of parent. So, and here you say, your emotions and thoughts are mostly occupied with worry and guilt about my daughter's marriage and children. So even when you're not seeing them, you're thinking about it. Now, this is just another example of uncontrolled use of mind, which is not a use of mind. You are being used by the egoic mind. Is there enough awareness in you? You have to ask yourself and verify it in your own experience. Is there enough awareness in you when this happens again? You start thinking about her, worrying about her, they're making mistakes. At that moment, are you able to know that this is what your mind is doing? And perhaps in the past that wasn't possible. Perhaps after this retreat, your awareness has grown, so the awareness can be there when the mind does its usual thing. And then you recognize that actually it serves no useful purpose to worry about this, except to keep this identity alive in you. You're not helping them by worrying, and you're probably not helping them by giving them advice that they don't want. So, to recognize the futility of what the mind is doing, this is so futile, isn't it? That's still a thought, but it comes from the awareness. That's a true thought. The rest are unconscious thoughts. You can have true thoughts that arise out of awareness, and often those true thoughts have something to say about the unconscious thoughts. Say, this is so crazy. Do I want to do this for the rest of my life? I'd rather not think these thoughts anymore, and therefore I will put my attention on the fact that I'm breathing. And I'll put my attention on looking at the sky and be in the present moment. And then a few minutes later you will find the thoughts trying to creep in again, and they want your attention. One little thought comes, come this way. And you watch that. Okay, I'm not going there again. Sorry, I've had it for years. It's had served no purpose, just made me unhappy, made my relationship with my daughter unpleasant. I don't want it anymore. Thanks, you've been very kind, thank you. And then you choose to put your attention on something else, your inner body, the aliveness, and preferably present moment, and preferably not annihilate yourself by having a few drinks. I mean, those kind of drinks that annihilate you, that doesn't work. You don't need that. Another way of annihilating your own thoughts is by turning on the TV. Now you may notice, interesting thing, when you turn on the TV, you're not thinking anymore. So one could think that occasional thoughts may come in, but you could actually sit there in a trance-like state for a whole hour, watching whatever is there, and even changing channels, and you would still be in a trance-like state. And you can't even get out. You know there's nothing, because there's always the next channel might have something interesting. And even if every channel is totally uninteresting, there's always, what about the next one? And you're in a trance-like state in which actually you might think, oh, isn't that good? I'm not thinking anymore. But you have fallen below thought. And if you're actually watching a program, a sitcom or whatever it is, then you are linking into the thoughts on the screen, that people are talking, there's drama on the screen, you're linking into, so you're not free of thought, you're free of personalized thought, but you exchange personalized thought for that kind of thought. So that's not the way to go to become free of dysfunctional thinking, because that's just another way of falling below thinking. So you need to rise above thinking. It could be other things that plague you on a daily basis, certain types of thoughts that recur, that if you look at them clearly, fulfill no purpose except to make you unhappy and to strengthen your fictitious sense of identity. So your psychological function, you're not a mother anymore. It's not your identity, but biologically, yes, you are the mother for this daughter. But your identity is not being a mother anymore. You have to transcend that limited identity.